you virtually. Last time I was there, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 16 or 17, but I visited in person, and I will tell you that my brother married Elizabeth Giles, who her parents are Pat and Scotty Giles. They both passed away. But my brother worked for Murphy Oil for many years and lived in El Dorado, Mike Johnson. And so he retired from Murphy and they moved to Little Rock. But we spent a lot of time down in El Dorado, and I love it to this day. So, congratulations on all the good work that you all are doing there to make it a very vibrant place. Um, as was mentioned, I was appointed by the governor originally in 2015 as the director of Arkansas Heritage. And then after transformation occurred, I was appointed by the governor as secretary of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. So I thought what would be great is just to review a little bit about where we were and how we got here and what all we do now in the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. So Elaine, if you could start sharing that first slide. So isn't this a gorgeous picture? And really sets the stage for the wonderful work that we do at Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. I tell everybody all the time that I have the best job in all of state government. And because I'm a native Arkansan, I love this state. I value the historic and cultural resources of our state. And so I get to tell the good news about Arkansas every day and work with a very talented staff. So prior to transformation, Elaine, if you would share that next screen.
Just a second. Yeah, try again. Sorry.
Let me tell you all that. So the legislature passed transformation in 2019. And part of the reason for that, the impetus for it, was to streamline government and offer better delivery of services to the public. So this was the cabinet prior to transformation. There were 42 cabinet level members that each of those cabinet members reported directly to Governor Hutchinson. So I think the old adage in business is, you know, you can have 10 direct reports and still operate efficiently. Well, the governor was a little overwhelmed with 42 direct reports. In addition to these cabinet level agencies, there are or were 200 independent commissions or committees that were also direct reports to the governor. So all of that was changed to 15 cabinet level positions. Elaine, next slide. And this is what we have today. Agriculture, commerce, corrections, education, energy and environment, finance and administration, the Department of Health, which you've heard a lot about this year, human services, the Office of Inspector General, labor and licensing, the military, parks, heritage and tourism, public safety, transformation and shared services is a new department, and then Veterans Affairs. The next slide shows what our Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, what we are responsible for. We have three main divisions: Arkansas State Parks, Arkansas Heritage, and then Arkansas Tourism. We also have the Capital Zoning District Commission, which is a district within Little Rock that was created by Governor Pryor. And all it is really is a zoning body, and they oversee the land that is around the Arkansas State Capitol and around the governor's mansion. So capital zoning is now, or will be, on at the end of July, we passed legislation to make it a part of our Arkansas Historic Preservation Program. And we also have Keep Arkansas Beautiful as a special program. Next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about our 52 state parks. So it's no exaggeration to say that the Arkansas State Park system is one of the best in the country. They have, over many years, really developed a beautiful system, and I know that Arkansans are so proud of it. I am so proud of it. As you all may remember, the conservation tax was passed in 1996. It's the 1/8 cent conservation tax. It was a vote of the people, so a statewide referendum, and it created this 1/8 cent conservation tax, which is shared largely between Arkansas State Parks and the Game and Fish Commission. Keep Arkansas Beautiful gets a little of that funding, as does Arkansas Heritage. But state parks and the Game and Fish are the big beneficiaries of the 1/8 cent conservation tax. Also, I thought this was an important point to share. The real estate transfer tax, that was an initiative led largely by Jody Mahoney of El Dorado when he was a legislator. And that created the Arkansas Natural and Cultural Resources Trust Fund. It's a tax that is applied to the transfer of real estate. And it was created in 1987 and increased in 1993. But it generates, this year it'll be about probably between 25 and $30 million. That money also benefits our state park system and our Arkansas Heritage Department. So we have a well-funded state park system because of these important special revenues. And when you visit and you see a wonderful facility, it is because of the 1/8 cent conservation tax. Next slide. I'd like to point out that the impact of state parks, the system in Arkansas, is huge. We have seen tremendous growth during the pandemic because the state parks provide a safe place for recreation. People can visit there and enjoy the outdoors without fear of transmission of COVID-19. We've seen many visitors traveling up from Texas, from Louisiana, from our bordering states, but really from all over the country. And these visitors to our state parks generate an estimated $1 billion in economic impact. State parks by the numbers. Elaine, the next slide. I wanted you all to really know what we have in our Arkansas state parks. I'm sure that many of you all have visited our lodges, Queen Wilhelmina, Mount Magazine. I want to see, has everyone visited Mount Magazine State Park? Queen Wilhelmina is absolutely beautiful. Petty Jean, we were just up there last week for the dedication of a new visitor center. We have 210 cabins in Arkansas. Many of those are historic, built during the CCC era and are listed on the National Register. 1,700 campsites in the state of Arkansas, and I heard them talking about how booked our campsites are through this next coming year. People are really enjoying camping out right now, particularly during the pandemic. We've got 218 guest rooms, 41 playgrounds. We've got group lodging facilities, 8 restaurants. This camper cabin that you see here is kind of a new concept, and it is being very well received. And what it is there has a bed, and I think there is room for 4 people comfortably. It's got a little table and a room where you can play games with your family. but it doesn't have a bathroom or a kitchen. So you have to go to the bathhouse that is shared by other campers, but nearby. And these are a more affordable way for a family to come and stay in a cabin. It's not quite camping, but it's not quite a cabin. It's sort of in between, not a full service cabin. So this is something that's very popular, and I encourage you all to check it out. The next slide. Again, illustrating all of the many amenities that we have in Arkansas State Parks, 435 miles of various kinds of trails. If you all haven't heard, mountain biking and cycling is very big and a real growing sport in Arkansas. We're continuing to add to our system of trails. We have horse camps. We have 2 golf complexes. We've got even an airport, a public airport that is at Petit Jean Mountain. We have War Memorial Stadium now in Little Rock, a firing range, arboretums. The music auditorium is up at the Ozark Folk Center. They also broadcast a radio program called Ozark Highlands. Part of the very unsexy part of running state parks, though, a lot of them are like cities. We've got 19 wastewater treatment plants and hundreds of miles of utility lines. In addition to that, we maintain part of the road system that is within state parks. And of course, we have the only publicly accessible diamond mine in the world. And if you haven't been there, I think as an Arkansan, you're going to have to check it out. Next slide, Elaine. Again, during the pandemic, we've seen huge increase in our visitation, and part of that has been to access the water. We have marinas, we have boat launches, of course. We've got swimming pools that have been open in the summers, fishing piers, swim beaches. All of those things are very attractive always, but particularly during the pandemic. I like to note that we've got national historic landmarks within the park, 1 national natural landmark, 4 battlefield sites. So state parks also tell a lot of history and culture related to Arkansas. In closing on state parks, I will say our parks generate not just a huge economic impact for the state, but they also contribute greatly to the quality of life that we enjoy here. And we know it as Arkansans, but our neighbors know it, our abutting states, and really throughout the country. So we don't anticipate our visitation slowing down anytime soon. Next slide, Elaine. I want to touch on our Arkansas tourism efforts. Tourism represents the 2nd largest economic sector in the state of Arkansas, generating almost $7.5 billion economic impact. And our agriculture is first, as you probably know. And I like to tell Wes Ward, who's the Secretary of Agriculture, to watch his back because especially coming out of this pandemic, Arkansas tourism is feeling very strong to continue growth. We had, in 1997, the Arkansas legislature passed a 2% tax on tourism products, and it's largely hotels. When you stay in a hotel, you pay the 2% tax, and tourism attractions. So when that tax was put in place, it created a way to fund Arkansas tourism in our state. And as you can see from this graph here, the tourism tax has grown every year since 2010. And we continue to see growth all the way up to the pandemic. In fact, in 2019, we were having a banner year of 7.5% growth. So really, really good growth. People really are visiting Arkansas and for business and for pleasure, and sharing their dollars with our state. On the next slide, you can see there that as for this year, this is the latest data that we have, which is not exactly real current, but it's a delayed reporting system. We're down for the year to date at about 17, almost 18%. So it's actually not as bad as we had predicted. You can see in fiscal year 20, we had a really, fiscal year is July 1. So we had a really good start to our efforts in tourism, but then when the pandemic took hold, of course, it went down substantially. Fiscal year 21, we're at about almost 18% below where we had been. I will say, in terms of Union County for this fiscal year, you all are doing very well. And your 2% tax is up by about 34%. That's for this fiscal year. So people are coming to Union County, particularly in El Dorado. And the next slide is just a comparison of the 2% tourism tax again, to look at that over the years, how it has grown, and noting that it had gone up every year since fiscal year 10, following the 09 downturn. What's in store for our tourism messaging is that we will continue to talk about Arkansas as a place to enjoy the outdoors. The pandemic will be around for a while, so we are going to continue to share that message. We have really good bookings, and in addition to the message about our outdoor offerings, we'll also say, while you're here, enjoy some of these more urban offerings. The culture, the history that we offer, and is just really a great combination. So I feel really strong about our tourism message for this year. On the next slide, I just wanted to touch on Arkansas Heritage, although I've talked with you about this before. Again, we have heritage agencies and heritage museums, the Arkansas Arts Council, the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program, our Natural Heritage Commission, and the Arkansas State Archives are our agencies. And then our museums are the Delta Cultural Center in Helena, Historic Arkansas Museum, the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, and the Old State House, all located in Little Rock. Some news of note, and this does impact El Dorado because we've listed a lot of properties on the National Register in El Dorado. The Arkansas Historic Preservation Program has been able to offer a state historic tax credit. And I believe since 2009 is when that went into effect. The cap on that has been $4 million total in credits that we can offer per year. The past year and into fiscal year 21, we have already met that, exceeded the cap. So we've got a backlog of applications for historic tax credits. The legislature just in this session increased that cap to $8 million. So if you have a project and will be seeking historic tax credits, there is good news, and we will be able to issue more tax credits in fiscal year 22. I encourage you, if you haven't, to visit our museums and to take advantage of our heritage agencies. We have great resources, we have grants, and all of that information can be found at the Arkansas Heritage website, arkansasheritage.com. So in closing, Elaine, let's look at that beautiful picture again. And I just want to say that it is truly, my pleasure and my honor to work across the state to share the good news about Arkansas, to tout our beautiful natural resources, our cultural resources, and our historic resources, because we are very fortunate and we have managed the pandemic very well. Our economy is strong, and we are a pro-business state with so many assets that we think the future is just so bright. So I'm pleased to be with y'all today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or take notes and send you information if I don't have an answer today.
Okay, so at this time, thank you, Secretary Hurst. We're gonna
Certainly.
open it up for any questions that any of our club members may have at this time for Secretary Hurst. Wonderful presentation, wonderful.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, are all the parks and all your museums open now?
They are. We had during the pandemic, in fact, we were just talking about this earlier. It was during April that we really started to, I guess at the end of March, we really started to restrict access to our state parks and our museums, and gradually went to, within state parks, a day use only model where we shut our overnight operations and our campsites and our bathhouses. With museums, we did close the museums for several weeks, but now we are virtually fully open. We do ask that visitors wear masks when they're indoors and unable to socially distance. As you all know, there is no longer a mask mandate, but the governor has asked us as state employees to, when we're in the office and can't, have a safe distance, we do continue to mask. So we've asked our visitors to continue to do that as well when inside. So everything is really open and fully operational now. I will tell you, we've had some trouble with hiring staff. As you all know, the getting employees right now at entry level, for example, at hospitality, our hospitality jobs, housekeeping jobs, the wait staff at our restaurants, is very difficult. So in some instances, we've had to limit operations, but as far as I know right now, everything is open and fully operational.
I have a question, Secretary Hurst, and I
Yes.
work at the college here, South Arkansas Community College.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic hit, obviously it impacted us as well. But there were some lessons learned that we experienced, faculty, staff, and even students. So were there any lessons learned that you all experienced in the realm of creativity? The pandemic has hit, so let's look at maybe option A, B, C, or D.
That is a great question. And yes, we learned a couple of things. Government is cumbersome. And with Tipton and Hurst, I have operated in a small business environment. And those of you who are in small business understand that, you can make a decision and implement it, within an hour. In government, it's hard to change the way that you do things. We learned when the pandemic hit how well and how quickly we can move when we have to. And so that was a very good lesson, I think, for all of us with the transformation and the fact that there are now 15 cabinet level departments and 15 secretaries. Communication was streamlined, and that was a huge help, I will say. But we did learn that when needed, we could pivot quickly, we could be more nimble, and it benefited government and the taxpayers and the public. The other thing we learned is that we need to make decisions based on data and facts. And so we were able, for example, in state parks, we implemented a system where we actually track visitation, track usage of trails, things that they had done a little bit of, but it wasn't a very thorough tracking system. And we use that data then to make our decisions. So if we had, for example, a trail that was, it was so packed that there was very little ability for hikers to keep a safe distance, then we would close that trail on a really beautiful day, or at least a section of it. We also, at a state park, when the parking lot is full, then we essentially close the park, and that was just to avoid overcrowding and our staff being unable to handle it. So there were some decisions that we figured out we could make based on data, and that was very helpful for us. So I think, while I know we're all tired of it and ready to resume a fully normal life and operation, I can say there were some valuable lessons learned. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Secretary Hurst? It was a great presentation. Quite a bit of information, certainly with the economic impact, those slides that you shared with us as well. So Arkansas is still here in the midst of the pandemic. So states, parks, and tourism, we certainly appreciate what you all have done and are doing.
Well, thank you very much. And please let me know if there's any way that we can partner with you all to improve your community, or if there's something we need to do better. As I mentioned, we have grants. Our Main Street program, we give a big sum of money to the regional association, and that benefits tourism in your area. It's about $120,000. And so if there are ideas that you have for how that money is used, anything related to the work that we do, please shoot me an email and let me know. And I'm happy to follow up on that. So thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. And have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone else, we certainly appreciate you for tuning in with us this afternoon. Our next meeting will be May the 10th. That's May the 10th. A couple of things we hope to, we plan on having a board meeting prior to that, hopefully. A couple of things we hope to bring to this group as well is the confirmation on our Adopt a Street service project. We're looking to see which street we want to adopt. And then also we'll be discussing in-person meetings options moving forward. So that's two things to look forward to within the next month. And then I'll tell you,